Fame may crown a person with spotlight and applause, but it can also cast long shadows, shadows filled with memories, mistakes, and enemies that refuse to be forgotten. For Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the world sees the charisma, the grin, the blockbuster charm, and the iron discipline. They see a global superstar who built his life brick by brick, never backing down from adversity. But behind even the brightest personality can lurk a history too complicated for headlines, too buried for interviews, and too dangerous to ever resurface. Or so he believed. What no one knew, what he barely remembered, was a chapter from long ago involving a man whose legacy belonged to a different era, Clint Eastwood. Once a monument of Western cinema, Eastwood was known for his iconic glare and unshakable resolve, but hidden from cameras was a confrontation decades earlier, one that ended without closure, an encounter that neither man spoke about again. Time moved forward, careers changed, lives evolved, and The Rock never imagined that the unresolved past would hunt him down, especially not on a quiet afternoon in Los Angeles, long after the world assumed such legends had nothing left to fight about. But fate has a strange way of reopening doors you thought you'd locked forever. This is the story of the day The Rock was attacked by a stranger, never knowing until it was almost too late that the stranger was none other than his forgotten rival, Clint Eastwood. A story of old tensions, unexpected respect, and the power of confronting the past. Los Angeles was unusually peaceful that afternoon. It was one of those rare days when the city paused, the traffic softened, and the streets breathed in a gentle rhythm. The Rock appreciated days like this. They reminded him that even in a world of tight schedules, movie sets, and press interviews, he could still exist as just Dwayne, a man grabbing a smoothie after a workout. He stepped out of the small cafe in Studio City, the sun warm but not overwhelming. He put on his sunglasses, adjusted the strap of his gym bag, and began walking toward his truck. A few fans waved from a distance, and he waved back with that familiar, friendly grin, something that always came naturally to him. Nothing felt strange, nothing felt threatening. If anything, it felt like the kind of day where problems couldn't possibly exist, but someone was watching him, someone who had been watching for 2 days straight. Across the street, hidden by the tinted windows of an old black SUV, an older man sat silently. His posture was straight, his expression unreadable, and his eyes, though aged, held the same steely focus that once defined a generation of action films. Clint Eastwood watched The Rock with a quiet intensity. Not anger, not hatred, something deeper, older, and far more complicated. Today, Clint whispered to himself, we finished what we started. Years earlier, long before The Rock's Hollywood rise, there had been a disagreement. Not a fight, not a scandal, but an intense argument on a private film set. A misunderstanding. A heated exchange between a young wrestler turned actor and a legendary director who felt disrespected. It was never public, never recorded, never resolved. The Rock was young then, ambitious, determined, maybe a bit impatient. Clint was seasoned, old school, firm, and easily irritated by what he saw as Hollywood's new generation. Their conflict ended abruptly, with The Rock walking off the set and Clint watching him leave, jaw tight, words unsaid. They never spoke again. The project was shelved, and life moved on. But for Clint, closure never came. As The Rock approached his truck, he felt a strange shift in the air, an instinct from years of wrestling stunts and training. Something made him pause. He glanced around. The cafe, the quiet street, the parked cars. Nothing unusual. He chuckled to himself. Relax, DJ. You're just tired. But the moment he reached his truck's door handle, footsteps. Fast, purposeful. He turned just as a man stepped out of the SUV and approached. The Rock frowned. The silhouette was unfamiliar, the posture stiff, the face half hidden under a low hat. Can I help you? The Rock asked politely. The man said nothing. Instead, he swung. It wasn't a dangerous weapon or anything deadly, just a quick, sharp attempt to shove The Rock against the side of the truck. The Rock reacted instinctively, taking a step back to avoid the sudden movement. Whoa, hey! The Rock raised his hands defensively. What's going on? You okay, man? The stranger moved again. Another fast, skillful shove aimed at unbalancing him. This wasn't a reckless attack. This wasn't some random fan acting out. This was someone trained, someone older, but confident. The Rock caught the man's arm, not forcefully, but firmly enough to stop the next move. All right, that's enough, he said calmly. Let's talk this out. Only then did the stranger lift his head, and The Rock froze. Clint, he whispered. Clint Eastwood stepped back, breathing steadily, his eyes sharp despite the weight of the years behind them. You didn't remember me, Clint said. His voice was low but steady. All these years and you didn't remember. The Rock blinked, stunned. Clint, of course I remember you, but what is this? Why are you coming at me like that? Clint's jaw tightened. Because we never finished what happened back then. The Rock looked around awkwardly. You mean the argument? Clint, that was forever ago. I didn't think it still bothered you. That's the problem with unfinished business, Clint said. It doesn't care how much time passed. The Rock ran a hand over his head, trying to make sense of everything. You tracked me down to, what, push me around in a parking lot? Clint didn't smile. He didn't laugh, but his eyes softened, just slightly. You were young, hot-headed. You walked off set before we could fix it, and I let you go. But I've had decades to think about what I should have said. He paused. What we both should have said. The Rock slowly lowered his hands, sensing the truth beneath Clint's actions. The push, the challenge. It wasn't an attack. It was a test, a demand for acknowledgement, a way to force a conversation that never happened. Clint, The Rock said gently, you could have just called. Clint raised a brow. And you would have answered? The Rock couldn't deny it. His life was chaos. Schedules, shoots, travel. Maybe Clint had a point. Before The Rock could respond, a group of people down the street began recognizing him. Phones came out. Someone shouted his name. Clint tensed instantly. We can't talk here, he muttered. The Rock nodded. All right, let's go somewhere quiet. They both climbed into The Rock's truck, driving toward a quieter street away from cameras and attention. For the first time in decades, they were in the same space. Two men from different eras carrying a conflict too old to ignore. The Rock parked in a quiet overlook above Los Angeles, the kind of spot where the city looked distant and peaceful. Clint stepped out of the truck with surprising steadiness, hands in his jacket pockets, staring at the skyline as if measuring time itself. So, The Rock said gently, tell me what's really going on. Clint didn't answer right away. He walked a few steps forward before finally speaking. You remember how that old project ended? He said. You stormed off. I let you. Maybe I shouldn't have. The Rock nodded slowly. I was young, Clint. I wasn't trying to disrespect you. Clint looked at him with a slow, stern gaze. I know that now. But back then, all I saw was a new generation replacing the old overnight. I felt like everything I built was being pushed aside. You became the symbol of that. I was just trying to find my place, The Rock replied softly. Clint sighed. And I was trying not to lose mine. There was no anger anymore, just honesty. Two perspectives finally meeting after years of silence. You didn't deserve the way I left, The Rock admitted. I could have handled it better. And I could have handled you better, Clint countered. But pride gets loud when you're young, or when you're old. The two shared a calm, almost humorous moment of mutual understanding. Still, The Rock said, you didn't come all this way just to shove me around. Clint's expression shifted, more serious now. You're right, he said. That was just to get your attention. The Rock crossed his arms. You had it. Clint looked down at his hands. I've been thinking a lot about legacy lately, about conversations left unfinished, people left behind. I figured if I'm going to put old ghosts to rest, I needed to start with the loudest one. The Rock swallowed quietly. It wasn't about anger, revenge, or dominance. It was about closure, about age, about time. I thought confronting you would help me close the chapter, Clint said. But after seeing you, I realized something. What's that? Rock asked. Clint turned to him with a faint, almost reluctant smile. You grew into the man I was hoping you'd become. The Rock blinked. Clint, don't get sentimental, Clint warned, though his tone carried a warmth rarely seen. I'm still too old for that. Before either man could continue, they were interrupted by a soft sound behind them, footsteps again. This time it wasn't Clint. A woman in her early 30s approached cautiously. She wore a jacket with a film studio logo and held a notebook. Mr. Johnson? She asked nervously. I didn't mean to interrupt. I recognized your truck from down the road. The Rock smiled politely. It's all right. Everything okay? She hesitated. Actually, I'm a producer. I've been working on a documentary about Hollywood mentorship. And, well, you two in the same place. This is history. Clint raised an eyebrow. Documentaries, huh? She gulped. If you two are on good terms, a reunion interview would be a huge cultural moment. The Rock glanced at Clint, silently asking if he was comfortable. Clint shrugged. Why not? If we're going to close the chapter, might as well put it in the book. The woman's face lit up. You mean yes? Relax, Clint said dryly. We're not going to bite. The Rock chuckled. They sat at a picnic bench overlooking the fading sunset. The producer recorded on her small camera as the two men began recounting the story, this time not as adversaries, but as two people who finally understood each other. The Rock spoke first. I was young, fiery, opinionated, and Clint here was a legend. I didn't realize how heavy that title really is. Clint continued. He didn't disrespect me on purpose, and I shouldn't have taken his ambition as a threat. Hollywood is big enough for more than one era. The producer smiled, absorbing every word. And how did you reconnect? She asked. The Rock and Clint exchanged a look. Then The Rock smirked. He ambushed me in a parking lot. Clint pretended to glare, mildly. Very mildly, The Rock corrected, laughing. The producer looked shocked. Wait, really? The Rock raised his hands. He just wanted my attention. No harm. Clint nodded. If I wanted to knock him over, I would have needed a ladder first. The three shared a light laugh, the tension from earlier now replaced with camaraderie. When the filming wrapped, the producer left with a grateful wave and a memory she'd tell for the rest of her career. The Rock turned toward Clint. So, what now? Clint took a long breath as though savoring the simple act. Now I go home, he said, comfortably, knowing that old ghost won't follow me there. The Rock placed a respectful hand on Clint's shoulder. I'm glad you came today. Clint nodded. Me too. They stood in silence for a moment. Two timelines, two legacies, two lives finally aligned. Take care of yourself, kid, Clint said. You too, The Rock replied. As Clint walked toward his SUV, The Rock watched him go with deep respect for the man he once misunderstood and now completely admired. The encounter had brought closure and perhaps a newfound appreciation for the journey they both traveled in Hollywood. The next morning, social media erupted with excitement as the teaser clip hinted at a reunion between two Hollywood giants. The cryptic message from The Rock only fueled the anticipation, leaving fans eager for more. It seemed that this chance encounter might be more than just a nostalgic moment. It could be the start of something extraordinary. Clint's private message to The Rock was a quiet acknowledgement of their newfound understanding. Though Clint kept his thoughts to himself publicly, the personal connection he formed with The Rock spoke volumes. Their brief, meaningful interaction had forged a lasting bond, one that transcended their past differences and became a testament to the power of forgiveness and mutual respect. Indeed, this story beautifully illustrates how unexpected encounters can lead to profound moments of healing and growth. It's a reminder that even the most unlikely of reunions can offer us a second chance to mend past wounds and forge new meaningful connections. Thank you for sharing this captivating tale, and I'm sure many readers will look forward to more stories like this.